She had everything society tells us to want. Billions in the bank. A mansion with more rooms than she could count. 3 beautiful children. A husband the world worshipped as a genius. So why was she waking up gasping for air at 3 a.m.? From the outside, her life appeared flawless. Enormous wealth. Beautiful homes. A loving family. A partner the world admired. But behind closed doors, she was suffocating, battling anxiety attacks that came without warning and nightmares where everything she'd built turned to dust. The panic attacks started without explanation. The dreams grew darker. She'd lie awake wondering, is this really my life, or am I living someone else's story? For nearly 3 decades, she stayed silent. She smiled for cameras. She played the role perfectly. But silence has a price, and she was paying it with her sanity. Then everything exploded, and after nearly 30 years of keeping quiet, she finally chose to speak. The moment everything changed. The fall of 2019 brought revelations that shattered her carefully maintained world. She learned her husband had maintained contact with a man convicted of serious crimes, the same person she'd explicitly asked him to avoid years before. Their only meeting in 2013 had left her with an instinctive revulsion. She'd been direct with her husband, maintained distance from this individual. Her instincts screamed danger. I knew immediately something was deeply wrong, she would later recall. Everything about the situation felt toxic. Her objections meant nothing. The relationship continued, multiple documented encounters over years. When journalists broke the story that October, she immediately sought legal counsel about divorce. Secrets that refused to stay buried. Then came the letter. A former employee contacted the company, revealing a years-long intimate relationship with her husband while he served as chief executive. The timing cut deepest. Their children had been toddlers. They'd celebrated barely 6 years of marriage. The board launched an investigation. By March 2020, he'd resigned from leading the technology empire he'd created from nothing. The company acknowledged an extramarital relationship had occurred roughly 20 years earlier. But the revelations didn't stop. Additional reports surfaced describing inappropriate behavior with employees, unwelcome messages, uncomfortable advances, a pattern spanning years. When pressed about whether there had been others, her answer was devastating in its simplicity. He should answer that himself. The relationship she couldn't end. The criminal her husband refused to abandon had admitted guilt in 2008, yet powerful people continued seeking his company. Beginning in 2011, 3 full years after conviction, the meetings commenced. These weren't chance encounters, but deliberate engagements, dinners lasting hours, extensive private conversations. She voiced her opposition constantly, demanding he sever ties completely. He refused. Papers unsealed in 2024 showed advisors had written to the convicted man explaining that her husband wanted further contact but felt prevented by his wife, revealing he felt restricted only by her disapproval, not by his own moral compass. When everything became public knowledge in late 2019, she described feeling pushed past her limit, understanding that their fundamental values had never aligned. Complete breakdown. The period from late 2019 through early 2021 became the darkest of her entire life. At 55, after a quarter-century of marriage, she experienced total emotional collapse. She's spoken with remarkable openness about those months, debilitating panic attacks, recurring dreams of structures crumbling beneath her feet, entire days when leaving bed felt impossible. There were so many days consumed by grief, she shared. Days spent literally collapsed on the floor, thinking, how is this real? How do I possibly continue? During a February 2020 trip, she finally spoke the words that had been building for months. She wanted separation. His reaction suggested he'd seen it coming. Sad but not surprised, perhaps even relieved. They made their divorce public in May 2021. 3 months later, everything was legally finished. The price of freedom. Their combined fortune exceeded $130 billion. This became one of history's most expensive divorces. The day they announced, he transferred billions in stock to her name immediately. They attempted continuing their joint charitable work post-divorce, but by June 2024, she stepped away entirely. The separation included $12.5 billion for her independent philanthropic vision. The foundation they'd built together was renamed, erasing her from its identity, the final symbolic end of their partnership. Her statement said everything. "I'm completely free now to work exactly as I choose." After decades defined by a shadow, she'd reclaimed herself. Transformation complete. By spring 2025, appearing on television to discuss her memoir, she radiated transformation, confident, clear-sighted, empowered in ways that seemed unimaginable just years before. Asked what the betrayals taught her about partnership, she didn't hesitate. "I discovered that real intimacy requires complete honesty from both people. Without that foundation, trust becomes impossible." Eventually, leaving wasn't optional anymore. Not "I decided to leave." Leaving became mandatory. Remaining would have meant complete self-erasure. She wrote about gradually diminishing during the marriage, constantly shrinking to accommodate his ambitions and public image. "I stopped recognizing myself," she admitted. "I desperately wanted to become whole again." Building something new. Through her independent foundation, she's already committed over $1 billion toward advancing opportunities for women and girls globally, including hundreds of millions specifically for women's health programs. October 2024 brought another milestone. She publicly acknowledged a new romantic relationship with a technology entrepreneur 12 years younger. Their appearance together showed two people radiating genuine joy. "It's been wonderful," she said, her smile unmistakable. "I'm truly deeply happy." At 61, she surrounded herself with remarkable women who understand resilience and reinvention. Her advice resonates with hard-won wisdom. Creating a different life requires real courage. But when you finally change direction, you discover incredible possibilities opening before you. The ultimate liberation. For 27 years, her existence was defined by marriage, public reputation, and others' expectations of who she should be. That path has ended, replaced not with emptiness, but with extraordinary possibility. She reclaimed her birth name and her authentic identity. She went from protecting painful secrets to publishing her truth. From lying paralyzed on the floor asking, "How do I survive this?" to directing a billion-dollar philanthropic organization. At 61, she proves conclusively it's never too late to choose yourself, demand honesty, or walk away from what diminishes you, regardless of how much you've invested, what others expect, or how convenient staying might seem. That agonizing question she asked herself while collapsed on the floor, "How do I possibly move forward?" She answered one day at a time, one painful truth at a time, one courageous choice at a time. The world now understands exactly why leaving wasn't just an option. It was survival.